Welcome back to Arkansas. Here's what you need to know to get your solar all set up and producing power for you. First, you mount your solar panels and you plug them all up together, positive to negative. So you end up with negative on one end and positive way over on the other. So I used a 50-foot long cord to run it to the cabin. Now that 50-foot cord was the perfect length. So, from your solar panels, I got a DC breaker. From the breaker, it comes back down still, around and to your PV in, plus and minus. And then you have AC out, positive, negative, and the ground, which runs down the wires, and to a AC breaker. And from there, you go on up and run it into your breaker box. So you have your live and your neutral. And down at the bottom, you put in your ground. This is my ground bar. There's my neutral, and since you have two posts up on top for your live, if you're only plugging up one, then that only charges one side of your bus bar. So I put this jumper to power both sides, so I can have the whole thing active and ready to use. Now, sometimes you'll see you have a grounding screw or a bonding screw on here, and you could combine your grounds and your neutrals. I don't want to do that. I don't want it bonded. I'm not hooked up to the grid. Now for the battery, I had to add some little connectors to the end, and it takes a M6 screw or bolt to screw them in there. It's covered by this plastic. I had to take the cover off and remove that so I could get to it to attach the battery connectors. Now this case, when you take the case off, there's a plug for the screen already plugged in here, and it has a strap connecting them. You need to unplug that, because if you leave it plugged in, it's gonna fall, and when it falls, it'll pull out and it'll bend the connections, and you'll have to straighten them back out before you can use it. Now the battery plugged into another big DC breaker, and from there it goes down and into this. This is a 48 volt 100 amp hour battery. It's like 5.2 kilowatts, and it doesn't seem to matter which of the positive and which of the negative you use. Either way seems to work the same. Now, what you might not know on here, to make it work, these little switches, they all have to be off right here, except for number one. You flip that on, and you have to have your cable, your 485 cable has to be in the A slot, and it has to be plugged in up under here to the same thing. You have only one option on this side, the other's Wi-Fi and other things. So that cable has to be plugged in, that switch has to be on, and then to make it actually work, you have to go into your settings on here, and you have to change 3 of them. So you need to look at setting 33, has to be set to PYL, 32 to 485, and number 8 to LFP16. Now when you do those things, it actually works. Now to change the settings, you just hit enter, and then it lets you scroll up and down through the different ones. And right now, if you go back to the home screen, it's showing I have 207 volts coming in. I'm taking out 120 into the house, and there's your battery. And I like how you can scroll through different screens here, and it shows right now, with it being just somewhat sunny, I have half a kilowatt coming in. My battery's at 75%, and I'm burning 61 watts with my fan and lights going. So this window unit, it pulls 600 watts. And this floor AC that you can move around and vents out the window, it pulls 800 watts. So to actually power something, you need breakers. So you get your wire, your live goes into your breaker, your neutral goes into this bar right here, that's the white, and then your ground goes into your ground bar. Then on your plug-in, you just take your 3 wires, your neutral goes into one of the 2 brass screws there on the left side, your live goes on the right. Your live wire is always going to be on the side that has the skinnier pole on the face, and then your ground goes to the screw on the bottom, and that'll make your electrical outlet work. So with that battery all charged up, it took 8 hours to run it down to the low voltage running the air conditioner unit, which makes sense. The window unit going, you have 600 volts, 8 hours, 6 times 8, 48, so 4,800, watts, not volts, watts. So a 5.2 kilowatt hour battery, and you pull out 4,800 watts. That brings you down, it was at about 15%. And when you have low battery, the machine just beeps at you. Beep, beep, very annoying. So I found the setting on the screen this morning and changed the alarm to 5% instead of 15. So thanks for watching. Now you can set up some solar and use the sun to cool your cabin, because Arkansas.